Morning, folks. That's me. Bags packed, on my back, heading to the train station, and heading home. Here we go. Hi folks, I've been back from my first sort of stage of the Camino for about a week now. Coming home was a bit mixed. It was great to see family and everything, but even the journey home was a wee bit arduous. I got home about 8:30 at night from Spain, and then had to go and see a Dalriada doctor, an out-of-hours doctor, because of a pain which was coming down my face. I then got referred to the hospital. Went to the hospital and turned out that I had shingles, it's a reoccurrence of a chickenpox virus that I had whenever I was a child. And it actually was going from up in my scalp, down my forehead and down across my eye and all the way into my ear. It's cleared up really, really well. I've been on antivirals for just over a week, and I think it's really helped. People keep on saying, oh, shingles, really, really painful. I've had shingles before when I was younger, and I think the pain was worse at that time. The odd time I do get this sort of stabbing sensation in my head, because it affects the nerves and it follows a nerve line. But to be honest, other than losing a bit of sleep, it hasn't really been that bad, the pain. Definitely I've experienced worse, so I'm not that worried, and I'm looking forward to getting back to my day job. I don't think I'm infectious anymore, which was the real worry, because there are staff at work that are either pregnant or they might not have had chickenpox before, and if you haven't had chickenpox, then someone with shingles can pass on the infection. So just a week of sort of caution, and taking the antivirals, and I supposedly am all clear now. So that's great news. But I wanted to take this as an opportunity to sort of reflect on the Camino and how I think it was for me. I'm gonna cut now to a little bit that I had recorded around day 4, day 5 of the walk, and I didn't actually use. I can't remember why I didn't, but it sort of goes to highlight sort of the mentality and support that you get from people while you're on the Camino. Good morning, folks. Yesterday ended a wee bit abruptly. I got to a town, I got down the slope from Alto de Perdon, and my feet were wrecked. I just couldn't walk on them anymore. I found a bench opposite where one of the fountains was, and as soon as I sat down and took my bag off, I just couldn't get back up again. Just physically wrecked. I think it's a few nights of not getting any decent sleep. It's really taken its toll, and the blisters on my feet, I'm not too sure what's going on with them. My target was Puerto Lorena, I think it was called. Was my target for yesterday, which was just another 6.5 kilometers, but that was pretty much another 3 hours of walking or something. Maybe 2, but at the speed I was moving, it could have been 3 or 4, and it probably wouldn't have been good, and I wasn't physically able to do it. My eyes are completely red, bloodshot. They have been since yesterday. It's like almost like a conjunctivitis or something that's set, and it could be just purely the dust that's floating about from the mountain and everything. So I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that, and then the blisters themselves. The place I ended up stopping at, a Camino del Perdón. I wasn't in the door 5 minutes, and they had a tub of salted cold water for me to put my feet into. The staff here have been unbelievable. I couldn't sing praises enough of them. Noelia and her sister Anna Sarah, they have been lovely, absolutely lovely. It's a family-run establishment. It doesn't seem to get too many people through the door. In the sense that last night there was myself. I was the first person here because it was relatively early in the afternoon. But there was a group of maybe 5-6 young lads. They looked like they were either in their late teens or very, very early 20s. So it was just a small number of us. I think there is another room. I could hear voices and showers going later on this morning after I knew the boys had left. So I think there might be another room. There might have been some ladies in there. But if you're stopping through, stop in here. The food's good. It is a bar and restaurant. So last night, whenever I was having dinner, there's lots of locals coming in, sitting, chatting, and that really nice sort of community atmosphere that you get in Spain. Everybody knows everybody. Your children play with everybody. Everybody talks to. It's such a safe and secure feeling atmosphere. So yeah, ended up going to bed early because I couldn't even really eat. I was that tired. Pasta, spaghetti sauce, and then chicken, which was gorgeous, but I just couldn't stomach. Food. I started feeling really, really bogey, like I was going to vomit. So I came up and lay down. Tried to sleep for a bit. It wasn't really working. I just couldn't get myself comfortable. So I threw out yesterday's video for day 3, and then hopefully at some point this afternoon I'll have day 4's video out as well. I just want to get some more footage around here because I want to show you where this place is. So if you're ever passing through, stop in. They deserve your custom. They're so nice, and they'll be extremely welcoming to you. So what happens next? I'm going to try and push on. I've already rang home and spoken to Danielle about this. My feet are in a lot of pain. This is not a walk. This is a hike. Like, there's mountains and dirt tracks and fields. It's not a walk. It is a hike. So as I say, I'm going to try and push on. I'm going to try and get to Puerto La Reina, and stop in. I believe there's either a hospital or a doctor there. So I want to try and see if they can just check my feet. I'm not 100% sure what I've done to treat the blisters is right. And I ended up actually getting more blisters, taking advice from other people. One guy said about putting Vaseline on over your sock, putting 2 pairs of socks on but Vaseline and everything underneath. I ended up with more blisters, so it didn't work. But the blisters that were there, the ones behind my toes on my right foot, they're very, very red. So I'm a little bit worried about that. I know that when I was walking, some of the stuff coming out, this all sounds gross, I know, but some of the stuff coming out there was a bit of blood to it. That's why it looked. So
I just want to check it. Honestly, I don't know that the blisters are the sorest thing at the moment. I think it's my calf muscles. I've been trying to massage them to loosen them up a wee bit, and that just purely comes down to not having done enough beforehand. No real physical exercise in my life, with my lifestyle. So trying to loosen them up. They tighten up as soon as I stand up again, but that's to be expected. But I think I can still get a good walk in. So we'll see. We'll see. One thing that the Camino does give you is a lot of time to think. The number of monologues I've gone through in my head for this is unbelievable. So you do have a lot of time to chat. Gracias. To yourself. But lots of people have different ways of doing it. Some people, they want to walk every single bit, and if you get a taxi or a bus, or you're not doing the whole thing, then in some way you're at fault. I think that's highly unfair. There are people that are doing this for a variety of different reasons. That's true. Some are religious, some are purely a hiking holiday, some of them are other sort of some spirituality aspect to it, and for each person it's different. In the same sense that some people spend their working life working really, really hard, and when they do get a break and maybe take the opportunity to do the Camino, that hard-earned money, they should be able to spend whatever way they want. Whether that's staying in a really nice hotel to get rest, to get food, so they're not sleeping in a dormitory with like maybe 100, 140 other people who are making noise or talking or getting up early and waking you. I think, as I say, it's my Camino. It's for me to do whatever way I want to do it, and it's the same for them. It's for them to do whatever way works for them. I've read some of the guidebooks, in fact even the one that I'm using here, that talks about leaving your mobile phone and everything at home and disconnecting from that real life and just immersing yourself in the Camino. I don't want to lose my real life. My real life is Danielle and the kids, and they are an essential part of what makes me me. And the notion of cutting them off or cutting myself off from them, that's just punishment. And punishing myself for something I haven't done is just that. And it sort of came to a head yesterday. As I mentioned earlier, I'd stopped in this village, and a lady that I've met on the first day and also on the second day of being here stopped beside me, and she was chatting and saying how yesterday was just a walk for her to do on her own. She didn't want to be walking with anybody, she just wanted some quiet time. And we started talking about messaging people at home and letting them know what's going on. And she was saying that her sons, two fully grown men, message her each morning, each afternoon. They check in with her to see how her day is going. And she's really close to them. Her husband's passed away a few years ago, so this is just her taking time for herself. But she still wants to keep in contact with her son. And for me it's the same with Danielle and the kids. We message each other in the morning when we wake up. We might even video each other. The glories of European roaming. And in the evenings we message each other and we call each other, video each other. I get to see the girls. I don't think I could function without that. The notion of not seeing or hearing from them would be too difficult. It's my Camino. I'm doing it my way. And being able to stay in touch with her and everyone else through these little videos is therapeutic in itself. I am enjoying it. I am in a lot of pain, but I'm still enjoying it. It's not easy, but some of the best things in life aren't easy. You gotta work at them. You gotta keep trying. You can't give up. And that's what the Camino is, you know. It is difficult. Blisters appear, feet get sore, legs get sore, you lose sleep, but you still keep going. You still keep walking. You still take one day at a time, one step at a time. So I'm going to try and keep going. I don't think there's a wall. I think there's just a pain barrier where your body stops moving. And today, the upper half of me thinks I'm alright. From about the knees down is a wee bit strange, but the upper half of me thinks I'm alright.
There were a few people that I didn't really take time to talk about, but it's difficult whenever people are sharing their private stories with you. It just wouldn't be right to come on here and repeat all those stories, even if you didn't know who they were. They're personal for them, and they shared them with me. And you do find that people are happy to share their personal and private stories, their own personal reasons for doing the Camino, and it's very touching. Yeah, it is very touching. And even some of them, like, there was one German guy I met who's actually from East Germany, which was fascinating in itself. Someone that grew up behind the Berlin Wall. He was there and he had quite an old school phone, almost a dumb phone, you know. It did have a camera on it, but it was still a very, very old model. But that's what he likes. He doesn't want all the modern technology. He likes it simple. It does what he needs. It takes photographs, albeit of a very low quality, but they're still photographs and memories for him, and he can call his family, you know, and that's great. But there are other people that I was speaking to, and the technology which we can carry in our pockets allowed them to stay in contact with friends and family, and even for me, I think it would have been a very different and a much more difficult 10 days away if I wasn't able to speak to Danielle, speak to the kids, and see them. I don't think switching off from my family would have been beneficial for me. I miss them whenever I go to work, so missing them for 10 days and not being able to see them or speak to them would have been heartbreaking. And I know that others expressed the same thought, that it made a massive difference to them. I even bumped into a young guy in Villamayor, de Montjardin. There was a young guy there in the church, and he volunteers in that church for 2 months each summer while he's off from university. He was 29, I think, 29, turned 30. But he had been in with a monastic community for 9 years, and it got to the point where he had to decide whether he was going to join them and become a monk himself or leave. And it seemed quite a cut off group from all accounts. There was no modern technology. You didn't really see the world outside. and that seemed very strange for me. He'd moved from Colombia, and had he had joined the monastic group whenever he was 18, 19 years of age. So he'd been there for quite a long time, and a very influential period of his life. But now that he had decided that no, it wasn't really for him, he's studying at university, and he's trying to find a different course in his life. But he had lots of questions, which I found fascinating. But he was asking me questions about relationships and having children and following that sort of path in life, which he was trying to find a way there. So it brought up questions about relationships and how you end up with a decent relationship. How do you know if someone's the one? And I dare say he's going to find that very difficult. And I did say to him it might be a bit difficult at his age to be getting on the sort of dating game, when for a lot of people it's something you do whenever you're younger, whenever you're a teenager, and you go out with people, you're learning how to work with people, deal with them, their interests, matching them with yours, compromise, learning the things that you like, the things you don't like in someone. There's so many lessons and things that we pick up in those relationships as teenagers and in our 20s. How you feel whenever relationships end. How do you move on? How do you deal with the loss of what you thought was a good relationship? All those sorts of things all play together. And I think those are extremely valuable lessons in life to make a marriage work. And even for being a parent, which he maybe has missed. So hopefully it isn't too daunting a task. I think one of the hardest things for him is finding real friends, especially those that maybe haven't been in monastic settlements, because he's the first guy that I've met that spent nearly a decade away from the rest of the world. So he might have quite a rough time of it, and I really felt for him. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, there's so many other things that on the Camino that can have like an effect on you, and there's so much creation around you. And I did take time out one evening in Puente la Reina to mention this. One thing I wanted to flag is that this walk, this hike, there's lots of things that I'm not getting to cover. Probably because of the way that the gear that I'm carrying, the ability of the camera that I'm using. It's only a small short lens on it, so there's no real zoom or anything to it. But there's lots of stuff that I'm missing, especially the wildlife, the flora that's about the place. Like, even on the first day, walking over the Pyrenees, there were what appeared to me to be bald-headed eagles, two of them perched up on a hill. Another guy told me that one of the birds flying above was a vulture, which, looking at some of the skeletons around the place, I could well believe it. They were picked clean. There's been hawks and everything else along the way. A couple of days ago I put up took a snapshot of a sign that I walked past, which had all the different hawks or birds of prey that were flying about the area. So like things like red kites, where they're just circling above you, and it's brilliant. We don't get this at home. You do get red kites, but not in such abundance. I must say, I've been absolutely shocked. Some of the butterflies, absolutely beautiful. There's one that I've seen a couple of times, which has like a very light aqua green
fading through to like an orange or an orangey pink or something. It looks like a toy, you know, something you'd find in a shop. It's gorgeous. Even the beetles and lizards and everything else that are about the place, they're so lovely. And then there's the flowers that you see scattered about the place. Even sometimes you're walking down a path and you're finding the fruit trees on one side and the almond trees on another. And the kindness of the people on this thing as well. Like, everybody will ask you if you're stopped and you don't look as good as you maybe should, or like you're really enjoying yourself, then they'll ask you, are you okay? You know, check that everything's all right. Even with my blisters and everything, they said, oh, do you need? I can give you, and that's brilliant. There's a real camaraderie and barriers that are broken down just because you're all in the same boat. You know what the other person's going through, and it's amazing some of the stories that are coming out, but can't cover everything. I'd have to have a camera permanently on to capture everything. Maybe that's something for a future walk. It's going to be a warm night. I think if I waken up early and I'm feeling up to it, I'm just going to start walking. I don't think I'm going to wait around to see a doctor. I don't think my blisters are that bad now. They are still very red, but that could be the healing process. Fingers are crossed. And yeah, and I've new shoes to break in, which could give blisters anyway. So, you know, God giveth, God taketh away. I mentioned that to two ladies earlier on, two English ladies that I met walking this morning, and we were talking about the blisters and the pain behind it and everything, and I bumped into them after I'd been to Mass this morning and I'd taken the paracetamol and ibuprofen, and they asked me, how you doing? Like, you, because it was really bad this morning, walking around in flip-flops, and I said, perfectly fine. You know, I was positively striding into town like a man on a mission. Nothing was stopping me, no pain, you know. You wouldn't have known there was anything wrong compared to the hobbling 90-year-old that I seemed to be before. And I said to them, you know, perfectly fine. Stopped in at Mass, came out, had ibuprofen, paracetamol, and they were immediately just like my mother would be. That's the power of God. That's the power of God, you know. He's answered you. Yeah, I did ask him quite a few times during Mass, but for those that maybe don't have the same faith, paracetamol and ibuprofen, he might have just told me to take it, but it definitely helped.
To say that the people really make it is not an understatement. You can go away with a group of friends, you could go away just as a couple, you could go away solo, and you'll still bump into people that there's suddenly a camaraderie with them. They'd give you the shirt off their backs, and you in turn will do that for others as well. And I think that's a great sort of outcome from it. Spiritually, I don't know that being away for 10 days and walking for 8 has really changed me spiritually. I dare say, in one sense, it's been more a confirmation for me that I can maybe do a wee bit more than I thought I could. I can definitely walk further than I thought I could, and that whether it's determination or stubbornness to keep going, it's definitely there. To my own detriment, as the shingles showed, which only seemed to appear on the very last day, which is a bit of an annoyance. but it probably came from the lack of sleep, and I think that's a major one that can affect anyone doing the Camino. Whenever you're sharing with other people and in those sort of large albergues, it can be difficult. You do require quite a bit of patience. The likes of snoring, in all fairness to people, you don't know when you're snoring. I know that I snore and I don't always notice it. But yeah, snoring can be a big thing and people don't know they're doing it. So if it does happen, you just gotta let it go. You know, you either make the call to stay in bed and you're too tired to move, or you get up and you decide to quietly pack up and go. Some people are much quieter than others at packing up. Sometimes the albergues themselves can raise issues whenever there's automatic lights that come on, therefore people get woken whether you like it or not, or music comes on, as happened in Raccoons Valleys, which I understand why they do it, but when you're knackered, that's the last thing you need, is somebody waking you up and kicking you out. But it's just the way it goes, I guess. So yeah, I had hoped to get back to doing another stage of the Camino in October time, but now that I'm back and looking at the realities around me, children starting school in September, this one and her brother, trying to get them to sleep all night through, which means sort of a bit of sleep training that has to go on, which we haven't had to do yet, which might have been a mistake, but you live and you learn. So we're going to try and get her and her brother sleeping the whole night through as well, and that requires a bit of a system. Yes, isn't that right? So October might not be happening. It might have to wait until the new year, and if so, then I'll try and aim for around March, April time. And as I say, I'm going to try and get my wife Danielle to do it with me. It'd be lovely to be able to bring the kids, but our eldest is only going to be 5 by the end of this year, so the notion of walking a few kilometres might be the limit for her each day. Definitely far too much for the younger ones, though I'm sure she'd make a good effort at crawling it at the moment. Hopefully she'll be walking by the time we leave, and sleeping the whole night through. Oh, big yawn still. She's only up from a nap. But definitely it's something I've become very enthused about, and I can't wait to get back to the Camino. I've noticed a lot of blogs since I came home, the people that I found on YouTube, and I'm going to link to them in the description below, because some of them, well, there's one of them which is a family that have been doing it. They've been traveling Europe for quite some time, and I really like the way they've been doing their blogs, especially the Camino ones, which I've been watching avidly since I came back. One, to see sites that I recognise from my walk, and secondly, to see bits that I'm going to face whenever I get there. They brought their 2 children with them, and I've been very impressed by quite a few of the children that I met while I was doing mine, who walked the same distance and more, and maybe that's just youthful vitality, but I think it's also wonderful for them to have done it, and if it was my kids, I'd be extremely proud, especially over some of the difficult sections that there have been on it. There's also a girl that messaged me whenever I was back about one of my videos. She's going to be doing it in a couple of weeks, starting her Camino, and if you have a chance, follow her and see how she does. We all pick up different things from it. Some of the themes are the same, but I think it's definitely something that you find your Camino, your way, and everyone gets their own little takeaways from it. their own little lessons learned, their own little experiences. Some people don't even get blisters. Lucky ducks, them. Blisters, I think, come with it. They didn't last that long. They've gone away. They were starting to heal before I was even home. Like, the people that were most disgusted by it were my daughters, and the eldest two, who just wanted to poke and prod at them whenever I was home and thought they were disgusting. So hopefully I'll have a few videos in between going back to the Camino, but on this playlist, my Camino playlist, the next ones that you see here will be from setting off for the next Camino section. So until then, thank you very much for watching, and feel free to subscribe and hit the wee bell button for reminders whenever the next Camino posts come along. Thanks very much. Bye.